Hi, everybody. We are here doing our chapter reviews. We have been reading the book, The 12 Rules of Life, The Antidote to Chaos by John Peterson. I kind of went over last week about how the Jordan Peterson, he's a Canadian YouTuber, and he came out with this book in regards to showing the 12 rules of life to create less chaos in your life, right? So sticking to these goals, it would be following them in order of 1, 2, and 3. We already went over those last week, so you can go ahead and check out the YouTube that I have posted on my channel. The link for that is Consult with Ashley, so you guys can check that out. And then we have rules that we're going to go over today, which is 4, 5, 6, and 7. We're going to be going over them with Hannah and myself today. So I'm going to go over the first 2, which was rule number 4 and rule number 5, and then Hannah's going to bring us on home. And then afterwards, we're going to stop recording where we can kind of dig a little bit deeper and have anybody share their feelings along with us about the book. Okay, so rule number 4 was compare yourself to who you were yesterday, not to who someone else is today. I'm going to read my notes and kind of just, ad lib as we go, and then keep it really simple. So first it was find your being. And with this, it was once you're an adult, you're a singular being. So be cautious with comparing yourself to others. You have your own particular problems, financial, intimate, physical, whatever that might be. Those are embedded in your unique broader context of your existence, of who you truly are. Because if we didn't have those things about ourselves, then who would we be? We'd be somebody else. We would have the perfect life, right? Your career or job either does or does not personally work for you. If it does so in a unique interplay with the other specifics of your life. As you find your being, you must decide on much of your time to spend on your career and how much on the parts of your other life, like family and your own self, right? It's always like a balance of your being. You must also decide what to let go of and what to pursue. These decisions take careful observation, education, reflection, communication with others, and the biggest of all, time. Essentially, by doing this, you are scratching the surface of your beliefs and your limiting beliefs. This helps you to make difficult decisions without feeling overwhelmed by your problems. A couple of things I took away from this was avoiding comparing yourself to others and getting your psychological house in order, which will also go into another chapter that Hannah's going to go over. It's rule number, I believe, 6. But I kind of want to touch base with it a little bit because it was in this chapter as well. So avoid comparing yourself to others. We all have an intimate need to compare ourselves to others. Your brain will release hormones called serotonin once noticing you are more skilled than others. When you have serotonin in your blood, you feel confident and in control of your life, but your brain restricts serotonin when someone threatens your status in society and makes you look incompetent. So you will start doubting yourself and experiencing a low self-esteem, low self-worth. You are now connected to billions of people online, which the internet has allowed us to do. This means it doesn't take long for your brain to notice how you compare to others. When you're exposed to better people, quote unquote, you're more inclined to lose hope. This is a really big thing about like your feed, like for example, when I first used to wake up, I was like, oh no, it's just a way that I like to connect. I have no problems with it, but it actually was giving me a lot of negative blockers, causing me not to be able to create that serotonin needed in order to get done the things I need to get done for my day because I kept comparing. So moving on, that's how that resonated with me because I mean, really, it even happens with running too. Sorry, I hear my door going. It even happens with running too. You can create serotonin by running or being physically active and things of that nature because it creates hi babe, it's my daughter. It creates the serotonin. Anyways, so the best way to prevent this from happening is to stop comparing yourself to who someone else is. Okay, have fun. Stop comparing yourself to who someone else is today. Instead, start comparing yourself to who you were yesterday. Even a man in a sinking ship. Okay. Even a man on a sinking ship can be happy when the clambers on aboard a lifeboat. And who knows where he might go in the future. To journey happily may well be better than to arrive successfully. That's a quote from Jordan Peterson. I really like that one, just because, I mean, if you're climbing into a boat to see, okay, let me read one more time. Even a man on a sinking ship can be happy when the climbers aboard a lifeboat, and who knows where he might go in the future. To journey happily may well be better than to arrive successfully. So he was arriving in a boat, a lifeboat, right? That right there was good enough. But the fact that he has his whole life ahead of him is even bigger. But we're only looking at that like one moment in life, not the whole big picture. Anyways, I really like that from Jordan Peterson. The next part of that was get your psychological, house in order. Your house is the most important thing to monitor and improve. Comparing yourself today to who you were yesterday is what Peterson calls taking stock of our physiological house. You can see the progress you have made and decide if you believe you're progressing at the required rate. You then need to identify where your psychological house must be renovated. So where you might need some tidying it up, right? Determine whether these changes are cosmetic fix or a structural flaw, something that's a little bit more deep, or if it's something that's just surfaced. Write a list of these areas that require important and match them in ways that you can also fix them. This approach to improvement will help your internal critic become less obsessed with inadequacies and more focused on improvement. It is also an essential part of Peterson's 6th rule. So Hannah will touch base with that in a little bit. But moving on to rule number 5 was one that definitely hit me at home because it's about children. It was, do not let your children do anything that makes you dislike them. When I first read this, I was kind of like, oh, okay, like how could I dislike my children, like hate my children? But I mean, there are moments where I don't like certain things that they do, right? So that's kind of what that internalized. I'm like, oh, let's get into this one. So parents have to treat their kids in a way that prepares them for the real world. Yes. This means ensuring that they can function well in society by instilling the appropriate quote unquote rules. When parents ignore this, their children risk being rejected by society in many painful ways. This can feel like a high pressure challenge because our children are blank slates who will impact future generations. Deciding what to write onto them and onto these blank slates can sometimes be paralyzing for the parents. Peterson first encourages readers to accept the innate aggression found in humans. This is why almost everyone has a story of being bullied as a child. To overcome aggression, the author believes your primary concern should be raising kind children. This doesn't mean you should become your children's best friend. This would prevent you from enforcing the rules needed to make your children a better person. Peterson provides the following examples of some things to set rules, right? Never use violence unless in self-defense. Show others kindness and respect. Peter also recommends you avoid superficial rules like you must always be in bed by 7 p.m. You must always have mismatched socks, or excuse me, you must never have mismatched socks. In my household, we always have mismatched socks, so that is definitely not a rule. As well as setting up rules that we guide to better future parents. Excuse me. Wow, Ashley, I got my stuttering going. As well as setting up rules that will guide children to a better future, parents must also learn how to help their children overcome failure and pain. These experiences are inevitable and should be used as a learning experience. Raise children who are passionate about changing the world and create children who seek to improve themselves so that they are better equipped to change the world. I've kind of always been looking for like a mission statement, I guess, for like my family, like something that I aspire for. And I'm not going to lie, that right there, that last little part that I just read to you blew my mind. Okay. am obsessed with the way that he takes on chaos. It's more from a factual standpoint and less from an emotional standpoint, but also not taking away those emotions that we all still have to deal with, and like not pushing them down and ignoring them. So I really did like these last two rules that I just went over, but I want to pass it over to Hannah so she can kind of go over rule number 6, which I kind of touched base with a little bit. But let me go ahead and pass it on to her, and I'm gonna mute myself so she can unmute hers.
All right, hello. Oh my gosh. Okay, so I love this book. First of all, I was traveling last week. Ashley and I usually do chapter reviews together. You hear me? Okay. So I'm excited to talk about these chapters. Ashley, I wanted you to do the one about kids as a mom, but I also feel like as a teacher and just like as a human who cares about kids in this world, I'm learning a lot from these. And just in general for my life, I'm learning a lot too. These are like unspoken things in life that we don't always realize, and Jordan does a good job. Can you hear me if I put it like this? I'm trying to set you up. I'm like in my car without normally I have a little thing to hold my phone and get me right. How about, I don't know, hold on, let me move it around for a second to find, honestly, okay, I'm just gonna hold it. There, I keep covering the bottom. Is that okay? Okay. The two rules that I go over are 6 and 7. And the first rule is talking about making sure that your home is set up before you look at the outside world and start blaming others for your own struggles, for the things that are bothering you. You're seeing all these wrongs in the world, and it's so easy for people to just blame the world. Like, yes, it's rough out there. I'm not going to lie. You know what I mean? But he talks about how important it is to do self-reflection and make sure that there's nothing that you need to change first to change your circumstances, because you might be thinking that the world's out to get you, and a lot of people who think that the world is out to get them go down this rabbit hole of not doing the internal reflection to control the things that they can control to create a better environment for themselves. Let me switch over to my notes. I'm going to disappear for a second because I want to make sure that I am not missing anything. I was taking some notes. So it's like you can't change the world with resentment. So many people feel resentment about what the world is, and you're not going to change anything good with resentment. Even great leaders, if they're coming from a place of resentment, of hating how things are and being angry, you're not going to change anyone. You can't change your partner by being resentful. You have to be able to let that go and come at it from a place of like not being resentful, not having the hate in your heart. You know what I mean? And like I said, it's so easy to blame the world. It's so easy to be resentful of the nature of life, or, you know, how bad my situation is. And really what this chapter is asking you to do is to make sure that you've already done everything to set your life straight, that you aren't doing any small habits that are making your own life harder, that when did you go down the path that took you to where you are, to eating out of control, to drinking out of control, to not having your own discipline. You know, we have our own choices to determine our own mindset, to determine our own environment. You know what I'm saying? And it's important to take stock of what you're doing first, you know. Let's see. Your small habits, you know what you're doing wrong. You know those small habits that are bringing you back. And Ashley, you and I are doing so much work on habits in general that this really connects. But for people who aren't doing work on habits, it's so important to be honest with yourself. This is really what he's saying in this chapter. Is a lot of people are looking for the outside world to blame. And in reality, you have to make sure that you've done every single thing in your power to set yourself up right before you can just straight up say that this world is sucky and terrible, because guaranteed there's someone in the same situation as you who's not seeing their life as terrible, or I don't even want to say the same situation, but maybe in the same environment or spot in their life, right? In the same environment, but somebody's doing the small things right, and somebody's doing the work behind the scenes to make sure that they're controlling their mindset, and they're not feeling the way you're feeling about life being doomed because they're taking the steps. And he's, like you said, an Australian like YouTuber maybe, and he talks about how lots of people have read his book and given him feedbacks. He has thousands of people coming back to him after reading this chapter and realizing that they've changed their outlook on life or changed their whole life because they've decided to look inward first before getting, resentful about the outside world. So that's what that chapter is about. And then the last one I'm going to go over is chapter 7. And chapter 7, I loved. It's talking about making a meaningful life, about, Canada. Sorry. What did I say? Australia and Canada, they're like the same in my mind. Like they're almost American, but not quite. You know what I mean? They're different. One's cold and one's okay, whatever. But so this chapter was about making a meaningful life. And you talk about this book being an antidote or a path out of chaos of what the world is. And he talks about how life is actually a nice balance between order and chaos. And he talks about the two sides of the brain. And, the left side of your brain is super analytical. The left side of your brain is the things that you know how to do. And the right side of your brain is the unknown, the chaos, the creative side. And in order to be progressing in life, you actually want to be right there in the middle of your brain, of your having a balance between order and chaos, right? You have enough order that you know what's going on, that you have confidence, right? But, I'm going to say that after she put a nice quote in. But if you're only staying on the left side, the order, you're not pushing yourself out of your comfort zone. You're not going into new experiences. You're not growing. And so the goal of life is to find this balance. Let me read the quote that Ashley just put in here. It says, hold on. It says, to straddle that fundamental duality is to be balanced, to have one foot firmly planted in order and security, and the other planted in chaos, possibility, and growth and adventure. When life suddenly reveals itself as intense, gripping, and meaningful, your time passes because you're so engrossed in it that you don't notice. It is there that you are located precisely on the border between order and chaos. And then he goes on to talk about like the flow, like the finding something in life that is meaningful. And so many people, it says something that is meaningful. I forget what the exact word is. I said something that's easiest and quickest. So many people choose a career or a life path that's easy in the moment. They choose the easy momentary thing over doing a career that's meaningful or living a life that's meaningful, that gives you a greater purpose. And like in the moment, it's easier. But in the long run, it's not setting yourself up for long-term success. You know what I mean? And I really liked this one because he talks about living your life in the flow state. And he talks about this meaningful life where you're sharing something that's deeper to you. Like for me, sharing my sobriety is meaningful for me. And that's why I continue to show up and do it, because people tell me that they take meaning out of it. And that's the whole point of living a meaningful life, is to be living a life that is influencing others to like create a better world, a better environment. Right. And so it's important to find something that's meaningful for you. And maybe you're only living in something meaningful for 30 minutes a day. Maybe you find something that you love to do. Maybe it's giving back to the community or whatever it is, like doing your self-help reading, that's meaningful. What we're doing actually when we're showing up for these chapters reviews day after day is meaningful to us. Like even if 100 people don't watch our YouTube channel, we don't care, because if 2 people watch our YouTube channel, or even fucking 1, and takes a bit of piece of what we're saying through this, not just through the book club, through everything that we're doing with this business, we continue to show up and do this because it's bringing a greater meaning. We're helping people live a healthier life and helping people, like pretty much exactly like what this book is, to go from a space of almost all chaos and no meaning to finding peace and balance and, finding something that's meaningful. And he talks about like when you go to a concert and you hear the music, and some concerts you go to are cool and you like the music, but I'm pretty sure you have been to a concert where you all of a sudden your heart lit up. You're like in the moment with that music. Like I remember I like reggae, and I saw Nako and Medicine for the People. And he's native. And so a lot of his songs are about the world and the meaning of life and about creation and living in balance with earth. And I remember hearing him and like getting goosebumps and feeling like you're in the right place at the right time. That's the feeling. Living a meaningful life isn't just an idea. It's a physical feeling in the body. if you felt it, when your heart feels big and you look around and you're like, I'm in the right time and the right place, like everything's coming together right now because I've made the right decisions to lead it up to it. The question is, how many minutes do you feel that a day, or how many days do you feel that a week? And if you don't feel it at all, then that's your step, is to find something that feels meaningful. And it can be a small hobby, like I said, a 10-minute thing, a 15, but the goal is to be living a 24-hour a day meaningful life. Like I guarantee you, like the people like Ed Milet or Jordan Peterson or these Mel Robbins, these people that we look up to who have been doing a lot of this work to try to live this life, they're feeling probably a meaningful life 24 hours a day because they've built that life, you know. And like going back to the last chapter, those same people have been in the same dark places that we have. Those people have been addicted before or have been in a low place before, and they could have looked around and just blamed the world, but they made the decision to do the internal work to follow these rules of life, whether they've read Jordan's book or not. A lot of people have figured these things out. And finding meaning is so, so important. So, I mean, I could talk for hours about this chapter. I thought it was really great. And I suggest that, of course, if you're watching this, that you are reading this book with us, or we have a podcast, or he's on YouTube and he talks about each chapter and summarizes it. And I listened to one of his summaries. It was an interview he did on this chapter before I got here. In the car, I'm driving. I'm actually going to a sobriety meeting in a little bit. That's why I'm here. I drove to Santa Cruz. So yeah, that's all I got.
That was so good. I mean, you did better than me. I was, wow, slayed
Not
it.
true. Not
No,
true.
no.
Thank you.
So
But it helps. I like how we choose the chapters, because you choose some that feel meaningful and I choose some that feel meaningful. And
right.
like, I love having these conversations.
And
this
a lot
is
of this too, like the pursuit of what is meaningful, what is not expended, like that rule that you just went over, and that like what I had posted in the in there. Oh, hold on, we're gonna end this here in a second. Basically, we're gonna be talking a little bit more after this. It's kind of how it goes. We record a little bit of the chapters, review it, we send it into our chat so everybody can kind of have a discussion from there. And then people who are actually currently still on the Zoom, we like to continue on and have the open discussion. So if you guys are interested in hearing more about this book, get in on our next book, really extend your mind and growth more in that aspect, please message us. You can either message Hannah, myself, whoever is posting this, whoever you're seeing it from. Just know that you have people out there that are also doing the work and you're not alone. Okay. We all started not knowing what we're doing at all, but it all took with us going, we can't even complete these books. We need better habits. So it takes being aware and yeah, go ahead. Have fun. Thank you. It takes being aware of what you are currently at, where you currently want to go. And I think, you know, even following up with the one that Hannah said, set your house in order before you start criticizing the world. Really take a look at where you want to be at in life and what you need to do to get to that. And then take a look and take, you know, inventory. All right. So I'm going to close this out. I'm going to stop recording. We're going to be posting this on YouTube, and I will talk to you guys later.